Welcome to Bears on Tap, hosted by Kyle Juice Michalski, Quentin Q Crisco, Sonny Verma, and the one and only Ron Luce, bringing you all the news, analysis, and opinions on the charter franchise, Chicago Bears.
We are back. This is the Week 5 Chicago Bears Trench Review. We're ready to talk some offensive line. We're ready to look at the big boys, watch some pancakes. Let's get after it. My name is Quentin Crisco. I am joined by Ron Luce. Ron, how are you doing this evening?
Q, I'm doing well. This is the first time we are actually running one of these authentically live. So it is 10:18 as everybody watches along with us here, and we're going to talk some film room. I'm ready, dude. I'll tell you what. I'm going to preface this. I know you and Sonny did an incredible job previewing the upcoming matchup this weekend in London against the Jaguars. If people haven't listened to that yet, or you didn't listen to it live, go check that out either on the On Tap Sportsnet YouTube channel, or you can hear that on podcast wherever you listen to Bears on Tap. But I was at the game on Sunday, so I got to see some of this O-line play in person, especially because we had end zone seats, so you can see nice up and down the field. There's a lot of good from this game, Q. It makes me excited for tonight's O-line film room because we actually we get to talk some good offensive line play after a win against Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, some of the best I've seen this year, honestly. And so I think I've got this actually in the wrong spot for where we're starting. But where we're starting is, Ron, we got fucking fire.
We got fucking fire.
What does that mean?
So it was really simple. So I will break this down because I sent that to you because I loved it because I thought it was fantastic because it was center quarterback exchange, and you were like, "Hey, you're going to need to explain this." And I was like, "All right, well, I'm not going to just talk out of my ass." I was like, "I think I know what this means. Well, let me go watch the film," and I did, and we got to where we were coming from. So it came up at a point in the game when a lot of people don't realize it came up at a point in the game, but they're checking the things in the beginning. Caleb's seeing what he's seeing, and he calls 32. Now, totally prefacing this, I don't know what the hell 32 is. I will promise you about 99% of people analyzing the tape don't know what 32 means. Unless you're in that Bears building, you probably don't know what it means. But my guess is it's either a protection or it's like a run check is my guess based on the personnel, based on the direction. I hear 32. To me, that means something to the inside. So maybe it's like a fake run to the inside, things like that. Well, Caleb calls that out, and you hear, we got fucking fire, man. Well, fire is a 5-man blitz with a corner coming typically from the nickel spot. So in this case, that actually is coming, and you'll see it there. 13 is the guy on the end of the line of scrimmage. He is a slot corner on this play. So Shelton's just letting Caleb know this is just good center quarterback communication because he's saying, Caleb calls 32, which they all know what that means. Caleb knows what it means. You and I might not know what it means.
Right.
But he's just letting them know, hey, man, we got fire. We got an outside guy over there that we can't account for based on what you just called is what my theory is. What are we going to do? And Caleb, you hear Caleb, he goes, I know. And this play, it's kind of perfect because they fake the run and they just take kind of the RPO check to the outside sideline, and it's a positive play and you keep life moving. That's just good communication. They sell the run fake, and it's a quick RPO. Caleb just pulls it down and said, I'm going to take the one-on-one on the outside. Hits Rome. Life is good. But we got fucking fire, man. That's what fire is. It's a nickel fire blitz.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like so he was probably like what you think it was a check to an RPO because he just said, "Hey, I got one man to cover all this green grass over here, playing off coverage with Rome. I know Rome can bust it, can just cut this out, and I'm just gonna put it on him faster than anyone can get to me." Like the fake is barely even an attempt. He's just like, I know I got to get this out because I got fire.
Yeah, I think in this instance, I think what Caleb's designing, and especially too, I will say my opinion and my theory on this play has evolved over the course of the week because You hear the mic'd ups that come out from the Bears. There was a lot of them from NFL films as well. You hear the confidence that Caleb talks about like, oh, I know, look, this guy, because I knew he was baiting me into this. Caleb's a smart quarterback. Like, I don't think people truly understand how smart Caleb is from a cerebral standpoint at the quarterback position. Shelton's just letting him know, hey, man, we got fire. And he goes, okay, I know. So we're just going to go away from the play. If I see the handoff that's there, great. But in this case, the linebackers don't move. Nobody gives a rat's ass about the pass. So he goes, okay, I got one-on-one. And like you said, right? I know Rome's going to be able to beat that. Just give it to Rome and get the positive gain.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I hadn't thought about this that much. And watching it, so Shelton knows he's got this 2-eye, I guess, right there, because if Caleb's calling this check, Shelton needs to get him alone because Tev's coming this way. And then you got Braxton 1-on-2 because the running back is no longer in the protection when he's coming over here. So to me, I mean, I'm thinking that's just Shelton going, hey, you're on your own out there, buddy. Like, you can't hold this football.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is also just it's a lot easier because as a center in my time of playing center, I never give a rat's ass what the corners and the wide receivers were doing. Unless that corner came in on a blitz, all of a sudden then I care about that guy, right? Because he's immediately impeding the line of scrimmage. So I think in this case, Shelton's just saying, hey, man, look, we got a run play on. Because I bet you this was a run play with an RPO check. I'm sure they have RPO checks built in at any point that Caleb sees something that he likes. He's just saying, hey, man, we have a fire blitz. So if you still want to run this football, just know you probably got a free guy coming from that backside. And Caleb goes, I know, don't worry about it. Because like you said, right, there's not really much of a fake. He's like, I'm just taking the one-on-one on the outside here with Rome because I trust Rome to beat the corner.
Yeah.
And that's all it is.
I almost wonder if Waldron said, hey, if we got fire, we're not making this check. And Caleb said, screw that, I'm making the check.
It could be. Hey, you never know. You know what? And that's the beauty of football. It's something I learned in my playing time too, Q. You will do what you think is best and then ask for forgiveness later rather than just always go with what's told. Yeah. One of my favorite stories of all time, when I was in high school, we had a lot of the guys that like to go out on the team, do things that most high schoolers probably shouldn't be doing, but sometimes do. And we had a Saturday morning game. It was our homecoming, but because we were the freshman team, we played away. We always played opposite of the sophomore varsity schedule. And our quarterback waddles into the huddle and he goes, I'm not going to lie to you guys. He goes, it's 9:30 in the morning on a Saturday. He goes, I had a couple beers last night. He goes, I don't remember what the call was that the coach just gave me. And all the old linemen looked at him. We go, just run wedge at 2. We all know that play. We love that play. It's just a quick trap play. Let's just run that and we'll see what happens. We score a touchdown on the play. We come back to the sideline. Our coach is pissed. That's not what I called. We go, but coach, we scored. Why do you care? We scored. And then eventually we told him later, like, hey, quarterback just forgot the call in the huddle. So the O-line told him this and we went out and we executed. He was like, all right, you know what? Fine. It worked out, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes that's just the case, man. If you're a ball player and you got the right idea and you feel what's going on in the tempo of the game because you're actually on the field, sometimes even if like you said, right, even if the call is, hey, if it's fire, let's just check out of this completely. Maybe Caleb goes, no, I'm not going to check out of it completely. I'm just going to take the one-on-one on the RPO over here. And Coleman's just letting him know, hey, man, I'm just reminding you, we got fucking fire. Let's do something about it. And Caleb's like, I know. Don't worry about it. I know. And it worked out. It worked out beautifully. But that was such a fun play because seeing it in real time at the stadium, then coming home and seeing the viral clip, then going through the all-22 to find it because you don't see the exchange between them in the all-22. It's way before the play, so it's not in the all-22.
Right. No,
so it's lining everything up.
That's why when you said you found it, I was like, can you tell me the time, like what the quarter was and what the time on the clock was? Because then I can find it easily.
I went down about a 35-minute rabbit hole, but we found it. We found it. And hey, we got fucking fire and it was a positive play, so I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. So this next one, we're actually only highlighting 2 specific plays, and then we're getting down to business on Bill Murray because we need to know if Bill Murray's a player. Like we need to break this
We
down.
need to
But
know if he's a
like
guy.
it's an emergency. But on this one, we're talking about pass protection, and we're actually talking about a tight end. We're talking about Mr. Cole Kmet, Chicago's own, on this play. So he comes and picks up a blitz behind Darnell Wright, and someone else comes and joins him. I'm not sure. I thought it was Swift, but then I saw this. It might be Shelton who comes back and helps. I thought it was an offensive lineman who comes back and helps him as well. But let's just run it through and see what we're working with here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and this is, for preface, this is the DJ Moore touchdown for those that are curious. It is Swift. So I will say, I think just what's most impressive about this play, and I think what ends up happening here, there are often times when the tight ends will stay in and block. And this happens, again, more than any other level at the NFL level, where the tight ends on any given player just, you're a blocker. That's all you're doing this play. Unless the quarterback checks you out of it, you're a blocker. We love
my
pancakes.
happy face right there.
We love pancakes.
I had to point it out.
Of course. I think what makes this so just so nice and so clean is the line's got their protection. Swift knows he's stepping up in this case to be a protector, but Kmet is in the same boat. And I bet you the call is, if the linebacker comes outside on the blitz, Kmet, he's all yours. If he comes inside Swift, he's yours. But in this case, Kmet just sees it coming from a mile away, because I'll be brutally honest with you, Carolina's front 6 or 7 was not very good. And that we highlighted that in the preview last week to you, just how beat up they were. No Derek Brown, no Shaq Thompson. He sees it. So he comes and he says, you know what? I'm going to give an extra half a second. And I'll be honest with you, that's probably the difference between Caleb sitting in there pretty in the pocket and delivering the throw he does to DJ Moore versus having to roll out and make that throw in the run. Not to say he can't make that throw in the run, but from where he's sitting in this highlight right here, that's a much cushier throw for any quarterback in the league, when they can just hang in the pocket like that, knowing they got 2 guys coming on a lone blitzer up the middle.
You know, I think this was one of their planned touchdown plays. Like, they get in the huddle and say, call the touchdown play. Like that. I feel like that was that this was one of their keys this week, because Braxton wins in a way that we don't see him win very often on this play against a guy who might be bigger than him.
Yeah.
The blitz is picked up perfect. They got the look they wanted and said, we're scoring a touchdown.
Absolutely.
Like, when you see something this cleanly executed, I can't help but think this was they planned to score a touchdown on this play.
Yeah, and again, too, I think a huge part of that is also just Caleb getting the time that he gets. I mean, again, it's great recognition by Kmet, and I know it's been highlighted all over X all day long, and I'm glad it has, because I'm glad people do care about good blocking, because you should. It makes quarterback's life a lot easier, especially for a young rookie like Caleb Williams. But I'm telling you, when, like you said, when you get the look that you want, and it's effectively a 5-man blitz, and it's a hat for a hat, and you've got 6, that's perfect, because your quarterback can sit back and let the play develop and find the windows in the coverage to make the throw. And in this case, it feels like a blown coverage, because DJ Moore it's hard to see it in this clip. It was hard to see it on the broadcast, but when you were at the game, because they were coming at us in that south end zone, wide open. Like, there was nobody within. I could have taken Q. I'm sitting in a room right now. I'm looking at my desk. My desk is probably about, if I stretched it out straight, I'll call it 10 feet, maybe 12, maybe, if I feel really special.
Yeah.
It would take about 4 desks in any given direction for DJ Moore to find a defender. That's how wide open he was.
Yeah.
There was nobody within a stone's throw of him. It was amazing, but that's beautiful. That's how you like to see it drawn up. And then again, touchdowns are touchdowns and scores are scores. And when it's DJ Moore scoring against the Carolina Panthers, there's nothing more poetic in this world.
You know, one thing that I do love about this one too, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but Cole Kmet is just staring at him.
Yeah.
And, you know, they get this look again this game, and it's a run block. If I'm Cole Kmet, I'm still just staring at him. And then I go get a nice clean block on him, and you run this look again, I'm still just staring at. I'm giving him a tell that's not a tell anymore because you gave that tell initially, now you can use that to your advantage. Like that's one of the things that I love
100%.
about tight end play so much, because these are guys who can hurt you as blockers. So like you can get into linebackers' heads of like, say that it was a run block and he's staring them down to start the play, comes and gives him a nice pop. Next time he gives this look, say he's running a route, he just flies right by him instead after staring him down. You know, it's like it's a mental aspect to it.
100%. I was going to say, you could even make the argument too, Q, in almost that same vein. If Kmet's sitting there staring him down and it works this beautifully, if I'm that linebacker and I'm watching Kmet do that again, I go, okay, he's in the block, right?
Yeah.
Especially an inexperienced linebacker. Oh, he's in the block. Not necessarily. What if he's a half-second delay and then he flies out into the flat? What if he's wide open in the flat and gets a 25-yard play? Then all of a sudden, everything changes off that. I agree with you, Q. I don't think you're overthinking that. I think that's beautiful because you are definitely taught as a football player, if you can give a cue that's not a cue to screw the defense over, and that was poetically rhyming, and I didn't mean to do that and use your name as well in there. But if you can give that tell and it not actually be the real tell, football's a big game of chess. That's just another distraction in the game of chess. Is, in this case, yeah, I'm staring you down because you are my responsibility, and I'm either going to come inside and help on it, or if you come looping outside, I'm going to take you. But later in the game, absolutely, especially nowadays too, right? Like they got the iPads on the sidelines or the Microsoft Surfaces on the sidelines, right?
Yeah.
They got those on the sideline.
So I'm thinking he's coming over and the coach is telling him the guy was staring at you for 10 seconds. How'd you not notice that?
If I'm Waldron, I go, use this again. Especially when you're like going out on a pass route, use this again. If it makes him hesitate because in the NFL, right, everybody runs under a 5-second 40. It's milliseconds of a difference in terms of speed. Even if you give him that look and he takes a 2 jab steps the wrong direction, you're wide open in the flat for a big gain. And that could be just as big as him being able to pick up a blocker like that cleanly. So that's a good tell, Q. That was a good find. I didn't even notice that initially. That's a good find. That's a good what's the term I'm looking for? Easter egg is what I'm looking for.
We're all about Easter eggs here at On Tap Sportsnet. But now let's get to the man himself, Mr. Caddyshack. The legend.
Bill.
No one will ever believe you. Bill Murray looked like a great offensive lineman on Sunday.
And I'll tell you what, I think the great Caddyshack Bill Murray would be a great offensive lineman because it's all about grit and passion, and he's a diehard Bears fan. He'd put his body on the line. But I will say...
For one game, if we learn anything from Space Jam, he's got one game in him.
Got one in him. He's at least got one. But I will say, I do think Bill Murray did a really nice job stepping in for Tev on that left side. And again, maybe not the best defensive unit that they're going to see this season by any stretch of imagination, but it's very easy as an inexperienced young player to maybe do too much and maybe just get overexposed. I don't think that happened to Mr. Murray at all. I think you highlighted it well in your Blocking Bears article. Highly suggest everybody go check that out over at ontapsportsnet.com. And I think just in the film that you can see, and you can see it here on this play that we're already starting to digest. Beautiful set, beautiful frame, good wide base. He's not oversetting the defender, Q, like you and I talked about on previous shows. And this guy comes back inside.
What do you do with his left hand that we were talking about last week?
Give it and take it away.
But not just take the left away, throw the right. And he takes this guy's power completely. That guy stops.
Done.
That is a strong punch.
Yeah. And you're done as a defensive lineman if an offensive lineman gets you this early, especially when you have a free Coleman Shelton to come and clean you up.
He doesn't even get to Coleman Shelton. That's how strong. He shocks him back. I was blown away watching his first few reps. I was like, I just did not expect it.
Hey, there's a reason that he made the roster, right? And it's beautiful when you get to see why these guys make the roster because the offensive staff sees this in practice every day. The fans don't, right? We don't get an all 22 in practice. We can't see this type of stuff. He looked really good, and this is a beautiful, beautiful pass rep. This is This is why I love some of the offensive linemen in the league that are not the big name starters, because these guys are all technicians. And this is technique at its finest. Keeps his shoulders square. You'll see it as he kick steps here. Bah, one quick step. Brings it. Bah, two quick kick step. Not oversetting. He's there with the half a man. Takes away the left arm. He tries to come inside. Stands him up. Beautiful punch. Nothing's home. Giving the eyes to the tackle, because as a guard, you're almost always the help man on a slide. Hey, if that end comes back inside, you can help clean it up, because Shelton can come and overtake you. Murray sits there. You post nicely. You're just keeping your eyes outside in case anything comes back. Caleb's got a relatively clean pocket to deliver a throw, and you look like a superstar. And that's why he makes it here on our O-line film room, Q.
Yeah. And then Darren in the comments here asking if the ex-Ram Coleman Shelton is doing any better for us now. Darren, it's cleaned up some. Like some of the technical stuff with like picking up stunts and blitzes and stuff like that has cleaned up, as you'd expect. I feel like that is always rough for a lot of teams around the league to start the year. But I'll tell you, man, I don't remember his anchor being this bad on the Rams tape I watched. I think he cut some weight that he couldn't afford to cut.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's so tough at the center position too, because you look at these tackles and the guards, and they're usually guys that are, plus 300 pounds, and they're big and they're muscular, and there's movement involved, right? Especially for tackles, because they're longer guys. You got to be able to be agile. But with a center position, there's such this delicate balance between being light enough to be agile and still being heavy enough to move 325-pound nose tackles. That's why I think, and again, and I will say this is one good thing about what a lot of people inevitably are going to bitch about. Somebody's going to bitch and moan about like the Kelceys and their fame right now and things like that. I think that's the best thing Jason Kelce could have ever done for the sport, was showcase the fact he's a Hall of Fame center. Mm-hmm. Very few guys can do what Jason Kelce did. There's a reason that Eagles offensive line was as good as it was. It's a hard position to play. It is, in my opinion, from all the spots that I've played all 5 spots on the offensive line in my day. Center is by far the hardest position to play, in my humble opinion. There's a reason why, but I'm ready to let you showcase your boy Darnold right here.
Well, I want to ask you about this rep, because I'm conflicted on this rep. Like I think I gave him a good mark on, my grading system goes dominant, good, fine, poor, bad. Yep. I gave him a good on this because I liked it, but at the same time, there was stuff that made me pause and gave me a little heartburn in doing so. So I wanted to get your opinion on it, because I don't like where his hands are to start the rep, but then I like his chop, and he almost gets that snatch trap there.
Mm-hmm.
Gets the defender way off. Like, the defender's just not in a winning position early on in this rep. So to me, that is good, but then that defender saves it with that right inside hand.
Yeah.
He's able to regain his balance while maintaining that position and find the inside move. Darnold ends up putting him in the dirt, but it kills the pocket.
Yeah, Darnell has an interesting technique. I think with guys that he feels are inferior to his talent, he's okay letting them into his chest. Mm-hmm. And more often than not, he can get away with it because he's so big and he has such a good anchor, as we've highlighted on previous shows. I hate the rep there. Yeah. The big wind up.
Well, and I swear, I think that's a Chris Morgan thing, because Braxton does it too, and Braxton should not be playing that way, in my mind.
I'm not a fan. I don't like it at all. I just, to me, again, and these guys are bigger and they're stronger and they can get away with guys getting into them a little bit. As an undersized offensive lineman in my day, the last thing I want to do is let a guy into my chest.
Right.
You can have my shoulder, you can have my hip, but you get my chest. I can sit on a bull rush, sure, but you just lose so much control there. And I think that's the part of it I don't like. I do like the rep from the standpoint, though, like you said, Q, of once he gets into his chest, the chop.
Yeah.
Because you are taught that as offensive lineman as well. I'll tell you what, I played with a guy named Justin Hunter. Big shout out to Justin Hunter. He was actually a part of our original Chicago Cubs podcast, Northside 9. He was a 2-time All-American right tackle. And he did that move to perfection, where he would kick step. He wasn't the longest guy, but he could As soon as a D lineman went to put their hands into his chest, he would swat them down every single time and then just absorb them. And he was one of the best at it that I've ever seen. I get why Darnell Wright's doing it. Because he can get away with it against guys like this, against Carolina. I don't love it. I see why you give it a good for the result purpose of it. I think from a technique purpose of it, I would give it an okay.
Yeah.
But I from a result purpose, again, Darnell Wright is kind of an anomaly on this offensive line. Like, we know he's a superior talent on this offensive line. He was a guy you and I both liked a lot coming out when we discussed when the pick happened at number 9 and he was drafted.
Well, and I think
don't love
where I ended up when I was sitting here going like, how do I grade this rep? Like, there's good, there's bad, there's good and bad in it. And
Yeah.
I was like, it's 3.25 seconds before he's impacting the pocket. I have a really hard time knocking guys when they keep a pocket clean for 3.25 seconds.
Agreed. And again, I agree with your grading scale. Truly, I would probably give this a good as well. If I'm being super overcritical, I don't love the technique. And to your point, I do think that's a Craig Morgan thing, and I don't like that at all. But at the same time, it's Darnell Wright. He's a guy that can get away with giving a little bit on the chest and then swatting a guy's hand away. I think that, him getting away with it ultimately at the end of the day gives him a good rep, but it's something in the long term that I don't love is giving your chest to a defender like that.
And we got Eric Ollie in the comments saying Braxton gives up so much ground. Impressive that Caleb stays cool. Truly, I felt like this was a pretty solid rep from Braxton. Like, he gives up some ground, but not bad by his standards.
Yeah,
he's in complete control here. He's got his hand on the chest, hand on the back, like he is in a bent knee posture. Like, he is in control here, and he's riding him above the pocket. That's clean to me.
Agreed. And that's the thing, and not to.
And like, even here, okay, right here is where that left foot stepping back. That's where I'd start to be like, okay, now you've entered the danger zone where I'm not comfortable with the spacing. But then I look at the clock.
To your point, right?
3.33 seconds. Like, that's a clean rep to me.
I agree. I think that's something that admittedly a lot of people maybe don't understand is like a good pocket does not have to be super wide. Yeah. It just needs to be clean, right? There just needs to be nothing in front of a guy's face, and he needs to be able to deliver a clean throw without being touched. Caleb has really good pocket presence, and this is something that I think we as Bears fans are probably not used to because we're used to Justin Fields bailing out after 2.5 seconds and running. We're used to, Mitch Trubisky not being the best, pocket passing quarterback of all time. Caleb's pocket presence is so impressive. He will stay cool, calm, and collective to the point until it's literally in his lap. We've seen it in the first 4 weeks. I think there was a rep in that Indianapolis game where he stays all the way down to the wire, and it's like 5 seconds in, and he's still in the pocket trying to make a play from there. I agree with you. I think it's a clean rep. I think part of the reason, though, that it appears that Braxton gives ground, I'm almost wondering if there was something about this look that made him think that a stunt could be potentially coming, because he kind of has a little bit of a hesitation step to it when he sets, almost thinking that 94 is going to try to come in toward him, and then there's going to be a looper, and you'll kind of see it as
how wide their splits are. I mean, I guess you could think that there's a
game coming, so he kind of, because you'll see it, he kicks, but then he kind of, instead of kicking wide, he kicks vertical almost on the kind of that second to third step.
Well, and his helmet's still peeking in at the D tackle, like his helmet comes a little left, then back to the D tackle, and then it goes back outside.
And it's because I think of that inside step that the DN takes. Yeah. That's why he's thinking something's coming inside. So I think that's part of the reason that he gives a little ground. He gives ground because initially he reads stunt. And there is such a thing, Q, and I think a lot of people appreciate this at home. There is such a thing that you are so bad as a technician, as a pass rusher, whatever, that it looks like something else, and it plays in your favor as a defensive player because you're so bad at it that the offensive linemen think you're doing something different. It's truly a thing. Like, I have overset guys because they're not good, because I think they should be here and they're not. It really is a thing. It's crazy to think, but it's true. I think that's what happens here. I think Braxton thinks, oh, okay, that looks like a move to come inside on a game potentially. So he does the right thing. He gets a little ground to sort it out.
Yeah, I mean, with where 94 is stepping off the line too, it
Right.
looks, he's like, okay, he's going to spike me, and then the other guy's going to loop. Like that's
Right.
They set that up to look that way, purposely or not.
And then it never comes. So then he has to regain himself and kind of get back again. So I think that's why it appears he gives ground. But I think the giving ground is strategic on his part because it looks like it's going to be a game, and then just the game never comes.
I mean, obviously it's slowed down, but right here, I mean, the guy's DOA. Like,
oh, he's done.
He's going nowhere.
Yeah, he's dead to the rights. That's a beautiful pocket.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think I gave Braxton a good one on this rep too. Like that is a good rep to me.
Mm-hmm.
Which is always
1,000%.
interesting to hear other people's ideas on grades because it's like, you know, you have it in your head, but to everyone's eyes, it's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, and it also, I think too, it also just depends on what you're looking for in the play. Sometimes giving a grade also is trying to understand what the player is seeing as well, right? Because in that case, you know, you could say, oh, well, Braxton gave too much ground. He only gets an okay. But once you identify the fact that he's reading a stunt initially, and that's why he gets that little bit of like ground vertically, then you can kind of say, okay, he reads it, but then it's just a bad rep from the DN. So he's got to recover, and he does, and he gives a clean pocket. So again, you can be, as weird or as not weird as you want with your grading scale. But a lot of it is too just trying to understand what's happening on the play, not just what is the player doing with what's given to him as well.
All right. So back to Bill Murray here. What do you think of this one, Ron?
Well, I love the set. I mean, I love everything about this. This is about as textbook as it gets as a guard.
So here's my question on it. Not the strongest D tackle room right here. He's able to say, this is as far as we're going, but I wonder how close that is to being, I can't stop this guy when it's a better D tackle, a stronger D tackle against him. And I'm playing devil's advocate on this. Like I'm
fair.
My brain is like, this 27-year-old defensive tackle cannot be as good as he looked. And I hope he is, but it blew my mind watching him.
I mean, I think this is a really good play. That's a great punch from Bill Murray.
Yeah, the punch was outstanding.
And here's the thing too, though, because he starts to set him, right? And then the guy tries to come over and cross him. I think if he was trying to truly bull rush him, I think Murray at that point sits. And he sits into his base and into his frame. And then it probably stalemates it regardless. But because he might have felt the guy trying to fight across his face, he kind of keeps him a little more leverage and kind of walks him back a little bit. It's the one thing I will say.
He does look under control the whole walk back, too. So that's why I was kind of like, I think it's really good, but
that's good. That's pretty. I love everything about that because here's the best.
The D tackle steps outside and then starts to peek back inside, and that's when he brings the right arm right into the chest plate. It's beautiful. And
that's exactly how you're taught as offensive linemen, because that's why you don't overset guys, because guys can always come back inside you, and he does it perfect. It's an aggressive one step inside. He's got his half a man. He can kick step again if that guy continues to come outside, but instead he comes back, and you're taught to post. That's the term. And it's right here. And you got that front leg coming up as well, and it's boom, boom. And you nail off that inside, and then he gets into him, so he just walks him back. And he starts to sit him down, and then as he goes to cross over, he just takes him and goes, all right, you're getting out of here. We're at 4 seconds. Caleb's getting rid of this football. And, all is good in the world because nobody touches him.
And we got fake ball coach in the comments saying his hands are late. I'm not sure I agree with. I think his hands are right on time.
His complete hands are probably a little late, especially because this is what looks like a jump set. I like the right arm punch, but that left arm never coming at all or even being close is what fake ball coach. Shout out fake ball coach. What's up, coach? How you doing, buddy? That's an offensive lineman for you, by the way. This is a guy that played the position, has coached the position for 20 plus, no, more than 20 years. Shit. I don't know your exact number, coach, but
so not a fake ball coach.
Not a fake ball coach, not by any means. He's gotta let me know what he's doing on Saturday because I gotta call a game that he's calling games. And so again, good rep, I think, overall still from Bill Murray, especially for a guy again who hasn't gotten a lot of
So
time.
when you're saying, okay, if the right hand's on time right there,
bang.
Where does the left hand need to come in and when?
The left hand, I would have wanted it to come probably a second sooner.
What, is it because he went so far outside with it? Really, it's really just taking too much space with it.
He looks like he's trying to do like the Kamehameha from like Dragon Ball Z here. He's here and he's like back here.
Yeah.
Which is not where you want to be, because if that hand gets swatted, you have no balance. And I'm like whacking things out of place now here from my technology standpoint. You get balance. If that hand's coming a little more, it should be ba and then
tight.
Bah.
And then, okay, gotcha.
And then you want to get inside on him. And then that way, if he continues to fight across your face, you have more of that balance and that leverage to continue to shimmy with him. Again, still a good rep from Bill Murray. It's a rep that I enjoy watching. But I think Bill Murray's, to me, best asset from the tape that I've seen of him already is his sets. He does not overset guys, and he's quick with his steps. It's quick motion. He's one of the few guys that feels technician from a step standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, he seems very technically sound when I was watching him. Which is why I was like, this guy's a converted D tackle. Like, he looks like he's been playing this position his whole life.
And I'll tell you what, man, some of it's just how coachable are you?
Yeah,
you know, when does being a brick shithouse as an NFL sized lineman eventually turn into, hey, I'm willing to do what is required for me to learn the position? I mean, all linemen are athletes at the end of the day. He just became a pretty decent one on the offensive side of the ball.
Man, that punch is just strong. I'm not sure if you can get it in the slowed down as much, so I'm just going to play this full speed here. But like, just watch the way 94 stops. He gets that inside hand on him and he might have been running a stunt. I'm realizing looking at it now. So it might have been more his momentum was trying to go outside.
A really bad stunt, if it is.
Yeah. But I mean, but that's how bad some of these D linemen are. I'm really not sure now looking at it again. But it looked to me like that right hand was just a dead stop on 94. Yeah, the way he kicks back right there, that little hop back, that looks to me like I didn't mean to get in this position.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I mean, I like a lot of what's happening here, especially when you consider the fact that 94 is a one tech. That's a guy that typically should be Shelton's, but as the slide happens, and again, this is the exact instance. So this is where slide protections come into play. So if you stop it right here, Braxton Jones is locked on that end. There's no question about it. Bill Murray is the slide guy. He starts the slide is the term. So he's the guy sliding. And then on the slide side, that's where you sift shit out. Lock guy is always locked. Hey, DN, that's yours. That's your responsibility. No problem. Bill Murray's got to come as soon as 94 crosses Shelton's face and is no longer in his gap. Shelton continues to slide, which is exactly correct. Like what Coleman Shelton does here is absolutely correct. Bill Murray gets there, sees the guy coming, gives him a good look at very least. And yeah, maybe it is. Left hand is called a brace. He's grabbing bicep. Should have outside pillared with the outside hand on the snap. True. I will say, and coach, you will go back and watch some of these other ones too, because I want to hear your thoughts. I'm going to ask you on Saturday when I see you. I absolutely, the thing that bothers me the most about NFL offensive linemen is the concept that you want to be outside with the hands. That drives me nuts. Absolutely drives me nuts.
Everyone. Like, it's so often.
Oh, I know. And it's everywhere. And I don't like it.
That Green Bay hug blocking technique seems like it's taken over the league.
And I hate it because you even see it here with Murray. As he kicks that left hand, like I like that he's bringing it to try to keep 94 from getting outside of him, but I hate that it's on the bicep.
Now, what can you walk me through? I'm not familiar with terminology, some of the terminology on this. What's pillared? So, coach said he should have outside pillared with the outside hand on the snap. What is that? Can you walk me through that?
So, think about it in the sense of how you would build a building, right? when you what is a pillar? A pillar is a strong structure. So in that case, when he's saying you pillar, you are essentially taking that away from the start, is what that means. So you're pillaring, you're strong here the whole time. And as soon as that guy tries to come in, so he's saying from the outside, right? When you're jump setting a guy, you want to get him immediately. So you're pillaring him, you're stopping him right away. Boom, right on the outside. Yeah. I'm going to break something at some point here in one of these film rooms. You're stopping him immediately on the outside. That's your pillar, right? That's your pillar. You're strong.
So is that almost like he's, again, his outside hand is hanging outside and then he's wrapping it and it should just be like a shot into the arm?
It should just be bang. And then when he comes back inside, bang. You just switch your pillar. So the way I can see it, and this is how I would describe it to people because I'm stupid and I like to do dance moves. Think about an over-exaggerated cha-cha. You're always strong when the guy comes in.
Okay. So you're saying right about here, it should be bang. And then when he falls back inside, the right hand goes
yeah,
in.
And I think this is more in reference to the last play.
Okay. That makes
sense. If I'm incorrect, because the first we're talking about that inside hand, and that inside hand's good. We like that inside hand. That inside hand's real nice. But initially, it should be that outside hand and then that inside hand, not just the inside hand. So that's what he's saying when he says pillared. So here, as he steps, instead of that hand being way the hell out here, waving and doing the jazz fingers.
Now you want to punch with the opposite step, right?
Pillar him on the outside, be strong for him to come across your face. And then if he comes back inside, that's when your pillar structure shifts and you got him inside on the right.
Yeah. Okay. That tracks more then. I was confused by that with the previous play, but that tracks.
Yeah, so that's what that was in reference to. But again, a solid rep nonetheless. But if we're being perfect technique-wise, I agree. Here, you always want to hit with the way you're stepping. Like you're always taught to punch. Like as a left tackle, when you're punching, you're not punching with your right hand.
Right.
You're punching with your left hand.
Yeah.
Same idea goes for the left guard. Now again, Carolina's D-line is not great.
No.
So maybe he's able to get away with that because he starts to set him. And before he can punch him, he's coming back inside. So he just goes and gets him with the stiff thing. Like you're happy about that in the course of a gameplay. But again, if I'm sitting in practice and I see that, that's exactly what I'm calling out. Why are you not here then to here? Right? It's all shifting. Right. You're all shifting your weight. You're always strong where the guy's trying to come, whether that's to your outside or your inside. You want to get strong there. You don't want to just let him willy-nilly get out there and then hope he comes inside and then you're going to be strong. Because if you're playing that way, you're never going to be strong to your outside.
Yeah.
Especially the guard. And it's different position to position. Like the interior guys, right? There's a lot more jump sets involved. So you do want to be a lot stronger, quicker with that outside arm. Where tackles, you can give a little ground before you hit that first punch because you're trying to create that wide net with the pocket.
Yeah.
So there's always a little bit of difference in technique between guard and tackle.
Okay, now this one we got the stunt coming through 99, going up to Murray in 94, looping behind up to Shelton. And I mean, Murray takes out 99. I'm not sure if that was, the goal of this stunt isn't really to free up 99, but I mean, he just stuns him. Yeah,
this is just your classic. This is just a TT stunt. So 99's the penetrator.
Matt Pryor takes out 94.
But. Yeah, and I was gonna say anytime you got a free anytime you got a free guard to tee off on somebody, he's gonna do it. And there's I know there's a highlight that you have in this package of Bill Murray teeing off on an end as well. That's the beauty of guard. To me, that's why guard might be one of the most fun positions to play on the offensive line, because if any position's going to have a guy come where you're going to be free and you can go tee off on somebody, it's guard. Very rarely are centers free. Very rarely are tackles free. So this is done beautifully though. Shelton passes 99 off to Murray. He's got 94. It just so happens that Pryor helps clean him up, and it's no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, inside D tackle stunt pickup. The ends are no problem on the outside as Pryor passes off the end to right, and then you got Jones one-on-one. That's pretty. That's how you coach it. That's how you teach it.
Yeah. And man, his base. Like Bill Murray's base is just he's so strong in it. He's got more knee bend than I see most NFL players have. And it's just
I will say this too, though. To
like
your
he gets
point,
the lift, gets the hands. Like, look, he's practically stringing the guy up right there.
yeah, and that's really good. And I'll tell you what, Q, you mentioned his conversion from D tackle. There is something to be said when guys convert later to a position where technique becomes more important, right? If you're an offensive
Yeah.
lineman for your whole life and you're just bigger than everybody else, you're not going to rely on technique. If you're new to a position, you have to learn technique. You can ask fake ball coach. Fake ball coach knows me well enough from my playing days. I was never the biggest guy. The only way I got by doing anything correct was by technique. And there's a lot of guys that feel that way. And Bill Murray probably feels that way, right? Where, hey, I'm a converted D tackle. I'm just trying to get by in the league. I'm going to take technique seriously because that's what's going to save my ass playing a position that I haven't played my whole life. That's just kind of how it is sometimes. Sometimes you're more coachable when you're not used to doing something your whole life, because when you get acclimated to doing it for so long, you sometimes become a lot less coachable. Sometimes these guys that convert a lot later become way more coachable and way easier to say, hey, look, you do X, Y, and Z right. That's going to help you go far. And a guy like Bill Murray seems to be taking it to heart, because I agree with you. You would swear this is a guy that's played offensive line most of his life. Hearing that he's a converted D tackle, that just shows a lot of athleticism to be able to move positions and flip sides of the ball, but B, just being a really good coachable player. And that's really hard to come by, I think, when guys get to the NFL level.
I think so too. And we got J2K in the comments asking, how do you guys feel about Braxton? I like that he hasn't gotten beat inside. He's still pushed back often, but he's giving the DN arc and not the inside. J2K, I mean, he hasn't really been beaten inside that much, but I don't know. I didn't feel like he was beat inside that badly that often last year either. And I just felt like he was doing a better job of keep making the arc harder for the guys running it. And I don't know. He just doesn't look the same to me as he did early last year. And I keep going back to that of like, it's not going to be as good as I felt about him until it starts to look the way he did in that Green Bay game last year, which maybe I'll never get there, but it's in my head, so I can't get rid of it.
Yeah, it's hard. I do like a lot of what Braxton's doing. I am in the mindset, and this is something that was coached into me as a player. And when you think about the logic of it, it just makes sense. I would rather you beat me outside than beat me inside as an offensive lineman. Like, if you're just a speed guy and you're going to beat me to the outside, good on you. You're an athletic freak. That's what you are. If you beat me to the inside, it means I'm giving you something that I shouldn't be giving you. I would much rather a guy arc and bend and get beat on the outside than ever give up the inside. So for that reason, and again, I think this is why I've gotten, and Q, you and I have talked about this off air a lot of times. I've gotten into arguments with people over Braxton Jones. Because people are like, well, you have to replace him. I'm like, you don't have to. Like, sure. Are there probably players out there that you could get that are better than him? Of course. But he's not awful. He's just not great. But he gives you exactly what you want. He doesn't get beat to the inside. He's somewhat technically sound. He's the type of guy that, as long as he gives you at least a decent rep every single time, it's hard to get mad at him, because like the comments have noted and you've noted, Q, he doesn't get beat inside very often. If he is going to get beat, it's typically a bull rush or just an elite speed guy to the outside that gets to him. But there's not a lot of those that he sees on a week-to-week basis.
I've been saying this since last year. If he got, I don't know, 25% as good with his hands as Trent Williams is, which is, Trent Williams, it's hard because Trent Williams is the only guy who consistently wins the way that I think Braxton needs to win. So it's like, it's a tough argument, but like, if he got anywhere near, like not even anywhere near, if he got a quarter as good with his hands as Trent Williams is, I think he becomes a lot better because he's keeping guys out of his chest at that point. But that's the constant issue with him. He's letting guys into his chest. In this game, it truly, it felt like he read my tweet about him and was like, I'm gonna show that fucker. Like, because he played so much better with his hands in this game. I thought he still got pushed back at times, but there were times where he was very proactive with his hands about keeping guys out of his chest. That I was like banging the table. I was like, that's what I'm looking for, man. And to your point, J2K, if Shelton wasn't getting pushed back, wouldn't Braxton look better? Yeah, I think they're a terrible combo together because neither guy has an anchor. Like it becomes really hard to maintain a pocket when your offensive tackle and your center aren't anchoring. I think they've done a much better job the last few weeks. Maybe that's softer D lines. I'm not sure. But moving into the next play, Ron, we've got empty. We've got what looks like to me either a missed stunt or these two are locked. And if they're locked there and empty, that just means it's on Caleb to know that guy. Am I right there or am I missing something? I should let you see the play before I
I was gonna say, I was like, okay, I just wanted to make sure I was on the same play. I thought this said froze. I was a little concerned there for a hot second.
Or is it Shelton? Like, to me, I'm seeing the slide is a 3-man slide to the right, which makes this split too wide to just pass 9-4 off.
Yeah.
So he needs to secure that before he can go get the blitzing backer.
I think he makes the right decision. I think this is an instance, and again, we don't know who's calling the protections. I think it's Caleb, truly. This is an instance where if I have a hunch that 56 is coming in any capacity, if I'm Caleb, especially because if you look where he's lined up, he's a little further up than 53 is. So you almost think like, oh, okay, 50, like, and watch, if you stop it here, 53 is a whole yard back where 56 is a little further up. So he kind of tells that he's the coming guy. What I would do in this instance is I would just flip the protection. That's probably the right play. Because if you flip it, here's what happens. Guard still comes and gets 99, no problem. He eventually becomes locked on him, even though he's not technically locked. He starts the slide. Right is one-on-one with 93. Shelton's coming, sees 94, and takes him, and then Murray can pass off 94 for 56. So I think that would be best case scenario, of course. And again, it's a rookie quarterback. Nothing's ever going to be perfect originally. And you say no need to slide. There's always a slide. And it's not necessarily a slide. Like, I think a lot of people take the slide for like, well, they're sliding way out. No. You're sliding a direction. It's how you pick up a protection. They're a defensive rush. There's different ways to do it. It's how you want to slide in terms of where you're going with the football, right? Hey, we want to make sure we got good protection over on this side. If a guy comes off of here, at least the quarterback's going to see him, right? There's a lot that goes into the slide here, J2K. But I agree. There's no
look to me too. Like, I'm watching Caleb here, and this is an offensive line show, but the quarterback matters for protections.
Sure does.
He's watching 5-6. It seems to me like he knows that he has a responsibility to know if someone's coming in that gap.
Absolutely. And he gets
the ball out because he knows he's about to get hit.
100%. And that could be an instance where he goes, maybe I'm not sure if he's coming, so I'm just going to let the protection be what it is and we'll live with it. I think in a perfect case scenario, if he thinks he's coming, he would just flip the protection here, because then Shelton gets 94, Pryor gets 99, Murray picks up the blitzing linebacker, and it's Braxton one-on-one with the end on number 40, and everybody gets accounted for. And again, even if it's still a quick throw, at least you got a hat and a hat, and you can get the ball away easily. Still good on Caleb, though, getting rid of the football quickly and not taking the sack, though.
Yeah.
You're not going to win every play. I think that's the one thing so many people lose sight of that are not hardcore football fans. You will not win every play. It's just inevitable.
Right. And I mean, calling a protection is, if you win 60% of the protection calls, you're doing well, right? Like, they are trying to mess with your calls. They're playing with your protection rules, and you're needing to win off of that. So, like, you're going to lose some protection calls. This looks like a protection
100%.
call loss to me.
Yes, agreed. Absolutely. It's
And
just
Caleb knows it off the snap and says, if it's not there, it's not there. I got to chuck this thing out of bounds.
Yep. And that's the right play. And again, sometimes the right play is just living to see another day. Like I know a lot of people are like, oh, it was incomplete. He didn't miss the guy. What the hell? That's okay. I think this is my quick breaking the fourth wall here, Q. For those at home that are just hardcore football fans that see football as you need to dominate every single play, think about football as chess. You're not always going to win every single play. You might not get the outcome that you want, but you can set something up the next play for later in the game, for whenever. And sometimes just saying, I screwed up, that wasn't the right play, and living to see another day is a good play. Once you start to look at football that way, you will become a lot less upset with how things go over the course of a football game. Because you go, shit, all right, defense wins that one. Let's keep it moving, move on. It's a chess match. It's what are you going to do? What am I going to do? And who's going to win? It's calculated risk based on educational knowledge, snap to snap. Once you learn that, you'll be good.
On this one, I'm actually not watching our guy Bill Murray as much as Darnell Wright, who just his hand placement's just off. Is that right? Or is that Marsh? Yeah, that's Darnell Wright.
There is no
5'8".
communication.
He's got nothing on that. Or actually, no. Okay, I remember this one now. Matt Pryor and Darnell Wright both think they're climbing.
They
just let 93 go free.
That's just bad communication. So, fake ball coach, yell at me if I'm wrong. Everything with double teams is communication. And usually, again, you're reading stacks. That's the concept that you're working. So in this case scenario here, as you got it paused, Q, you're in a perfect spot. 79 and 58 are working 93 and 53. Coleman Shelton and Bill Murray are working 94 and 56. Those are your stacks. That's who you're working. And stacks are just based on zone.
Nice drawing on the screen there.
We love good drawings. No, we love it's art time, Q. It's Wednesday night. But all of that after that is communication for who's where. Once you got to come together as a double team and move the penetrator. Penetrator is always the most important player. Pardon my French, but fuck 53 until he actually becomes a problem. 93 is the priority. Push the pile. And then if 53 flows to Pryor's gap, that's Pryor's guy. He goes me, right, you. Right shifts his head over, takes 93 by himself, or vice versa, depending on where the linebacker comes. In this case, you nailed it, Q. Just bad communication.
Yeah.
Pryor thinks he's got 53. Darnell thinks he's got 53. You know who doesn't have 53? 93, because he gets wide the fuck open and has a chance to make a play in the backfield. I mean, the fact that Swift even gets out of it and makes anything out of it is impressive.
Yeah.
That's just bad communication from the offensive line.
All right, now let's see what we got from him on this one. Oh, dude, he just does the little things, man. Look at we're watching his left hand on this.
Oh, yeah.
He helps Braxton so much here.
Yeah, I don't know if he gets, I don't think he gets
or maybe
as much
he
as
didn't.
Braxton as you think, but that's the right concept. That's absolutely the right concept, especially when you're on the slide side. So here's the concept that everybody needs to understand home. This is absolutely slide left from the quarterback's perspective, right? You got one-on-one with right on the outside. Pryor's got to come across and get that D tackle, and he does. He works them admirably, and in this case, I think he lines up as a 3. Does he line up as a 3? Yes. So Pryor's locked. That's perfect, and Pryor stays that way. So Shelton starts the slide. Shelton comes. He gets a piece of 94. Murray feels that tackle coming to the outside, keeps the pillar hand on him here with the right, and looks to the left because he's looking to clean up. Part of the reason he's looking to clean up also is in case there's a game coming. that he can help clean up and communicate properly. That's just good. That's just good technique. That's exactly how you're taught. Keep a hand here, help your center, watch the guy that your end's got, and look for any chaos coming from the back. This is just a good rep. This is just a good rep. Really is at the end of the day. That left side of the line looks great. They create a big pile of shit that Caleb can see around. Pryor does
that's
ultimately
a nice rep from Braxton. I thought Pryor got more shoulder pad on that, but as I zoomed in, I realized he didn't.
I think some of that is 40 understanding that the line's collapsing on him and he tries to get to the outside, and Braxton just does a nice job just adjusting.
Yeah. Let's try to get at least one more in here. Let's just let this roll. I mean, let's just we can't stop for every play. Let's get to the one we're all looking for.
The moment of truth. Tee off on him.
Boom. Boom.
I love that. That makes me so happy. Bill Murray puts the bull Matador bull goggles on and just starts crushing people because he can. That's the beauty of when you're the free lineman, and that's in this case what ends up happening to him. He gets to be the free lineman. The slide side, this is exactly what happened on the play we just broke down. You got lock on your right side. Pryor's locked on the D tackle. Wright's locked on the D end. Shelton starts to slide to the D tackle on the backside. And Murray just gets to be the guy that gets to cause havoc and start all the shit. And I'm jealous because that's the most fun thing you can humanly do as a guard. If you get to be the free guy and tee off on somebody, it's the most satisfying thing in the world. And he gets to do it here because Shelton actually comes across, albeit with help from Murray, but Shelton gets across on his man. And, Murray just says, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go get that guy.
You know what I wonder?
Ear holes him.
You know what I wonder? I wonder how much training camp Bill Murray and Coleman Shelton played next to each other.
There might have been a lot.
Because they look like they understand each other's movements way better than Coleman Shelton and any other guard we've seen this year.
Well, and weren't we seeing a lot of Bates in training camp with the top team?
I think so. Well, early on. And then Shelton took over because Bates was getting hurt.
But the early on portion is when the timing and everything gets developed. It's always early on.
Yeah.
You see it.
I'm wondering if that, because you can see in their footwork, they know where each other are going to be.
Yeah, nobody's tripping over anybody.
Yeah.
Like we've seen in past weeks. Nobody's tripping over anybody. And Murray knows he's got the strong arm. He gives Shelton what he needs, and then he's Braxton, I got you.
Well, I wish Braxton had himself afterwards.
Well, and I wish Braxton would have went and just sat on the guy. That's what he should have done. That's what I would have done. I'd have been like, oh, thanks for the free pancake. And just you could even do the little kid wind up when you jump on the bed and just starfish straight up and just fall on him.
So if you're watching this, as soon as Bill Murray, boom, right here, watch Braxton. Watch Braxton.
He's like, yeah, fuck that guy. And then he gets up and he's like, oh, shit.
He's like, oh, shit. And Bill Murray's already knocking the next guy over.
And Bill Murray's already back on the D tackle. He's like, come here, motherfucker. You're mine.
And then he's not done. He wants more. It's just.
Hell yeah.
You love it, man. You love to see that.
I'll tell you what. If nothing else, Bill Murray has earned himself the job as the 6th offensive lineman off the bench right now with this group over a guy like Nate Davis. Truly. Like, I don't think Pryor's been bad at right guard, but yeah, Bill Murray's he looks good. I think he gets a run. I think he should get a run. I wouldn't be mad if he was the starting right guard when Tevin's healthy at the end of the day.
No, I think he needs an opportunity. But what's going on with his hands right here? What do you think this is? Is he a little late, or does he have to adjust mid snap to cover up the gap? Like seeing the stunt coming, it was just an awkward rep. Yeah,
he gives too much hands initially. He gives hands without a punch. See how he does the old, the U. It's all about the U. He kind of does that, and 91 swats at that hand, knocks him a little bit off balance, and then it becomes an awkward rep because the penetrator is coming from the outside, so he's got to recover, get his bearings. And 91's coming from the inside. Admittedly, again, not another good stunt because it's Carolina, but
this might be the worst D-line in football, especially after Clowney went down. Like, they just couldn't threaten anything.
Yeah, no Clowney, no Derek Brown, no Shaq Thompson in linebacker row. This D-line was just not in a good spot. Not in a good spot at all. And you saw it. You absolutely saw it. But again, they were able to get rid of it, able to get away with it. I think that's the biggest thing that you could have seen there. Plays this game, do you replace Pryor with Murray? I would consider it, but the only reason I wouldn't do it, J2K, is offensive line play is all about feel for your teammates. Changing an offensive line week to week sometimes could be the worst thing you do because guys aren't used to playing with each other. So my guess is no. Nothing happens. Pryor starts at right guard. Tev plays at left guard. But I can promise you right now, if either one of those two, A, fuck up, or B, get hurt, Bill Murray's the next guy in because of what he showcased on Sunday.
I'm with you. I think until you get a game where Matt Pryor costs you, which you might get one. He's just not a quick mover. For as powerful as he is, like the way I think I keep describing it is, he has flaws. He has some clear flaws, but when you have an elite trait, you can make up for it sometimes. And that's where I'm at with Matt Pryor right now. He has an elite trait in his size and power that just can make up for the losses he's going to have in quickness sometimes. But
100%.
Once you start seeing some of those losses hit some, then I might start considering Bill Murray more. But until then, I feel like they're trying to build an identity right now behind powerful run blocking, which Pryor and Wright are really doing a good job with on the goal line, especially. They are clearing people. And Tevin only adds to that, so I have a hard time taking one of your three most powerful blockers off the field.
I agree, especially when, Braxton is probably a little more of a finesse blocker, even though we've seen him be a strong run blocker. I think we all understand, though, what Shelton is at the end of the day. So I agree with you. I think when it comes down to it, the run game has improved when they've leaned more on the power run game than I'll call it the finesse run game over the last couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. I think you stick with it until it's really shitty and really screwed up, and then you can make changes. But again, especially with the O-line, if there's one thing besides quarterback you wait to make a change at, it's the offensive line, because it's all about communication and it's all about chemistry.
I want you to watch the feet here in conjunction with Coleman Shelton's feet and just pay attention to it. Very smooth, very finely done. Like, this is another thing that makes me think they got a lot of reps in training camp together, because I haven't seen an offensive guard, or maybe it's just he's the only guy who's doing it right, but I haven't seen one stay that tight to the center all year.
Some of it might just be technique, man. I'm telling you, that's the one thing that irritates the absolute piss out of me about the NFL level is the technique from the offensive linemen is not the best, because these guys are the biggest and the baddest and they can get away with a lot of it. Right. But
Shelton's feet are on the dash here.
Yep.
And watch where
he does it perfectly.
Where Murray's feet are running. They are 6 inches behind the dash at the start of it. That had right about there. His first step is right there. It's as tight as it can be, and he's on time because of it.
But that's just good technique, Q. That's really what it is. If you run the proper technique, you shouldn't be stepping on people. And that's why the NFL is sometimes infuriating for people that are like technician. One of the guys that we were taught, I attended a camp called Football University when I was in high school. One of the Dave Diaz-Infante, he was a guard on the Broncos Super Bowl teams in the 90s, was our coach. And the offensive lineman they showed us the most film of was Willie Colon from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mm-hmm. Absolute technician. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, Q, because he was only like 6'2", 6'3" as a right tackle in the NFL, but he was a technician, and it was beautiful. You got good technique. It looks clean and pretty like that, Q. That's just good technique. from a guy like Bill Murray. And that's exactly how you're told to do it, right? You come off on a trap, you're showing it, it's play action. But you come down the line flat, you look for the end who thinks he's getting trapped and then is going to pass rush. You get into your stance, you get a good base, and you work with it. And that was just a good rep that we saw before.
Now, I want your thoughts on this one. As he has the D lineman crossing his face, and he gets a little overextended out there and doesn't get out to the second level until way too late. What do you think, that's even an accurate assessment of what happened here, or do you think there's a little bit something different going on?
It is and it isn't. So Murray, in this case, what he's trying to do is he's trying to what we call bucket step. Actually, I don't know what the hell he's trying to do. It might just be the play design. I don't necessarily love the play design either. I think what he's trying to do in that instance is take a step in that direction. If the guy comes with him, he takes him, and then Shelton goes up to the second level. It's almost like an ISO block. It's only I only ever see this at the NFL level. I can't tell you I've ever really seen this much at college. But in this instance, Murray would take that guy, and then Shelton would go up to the second level. But because that guy crosses Murray's face and he rides him, I like that he's taking care of the first level first.
Yeah.
That's textbook, first level first. At the end of the day, you would like to see him get off a little sooner. But again, at the end of the day, I don't think that's his responsibility either. So this might just be a play design thing that went wrong rather than him making a bad decision per se, if that makes sense.
Again, he's just so tight to the line.
Also, can we appreciate Kramer as a fullback?
Yeah,
this week?
absolutely.
Big fan. Absolutely big fan. I think that needs to be done more in offensive formations. Like, who needs a real fullback? Just put an extra offensive lineman there and tell the defense you're going to run the football. It's fine.
Ron, how hard is it to pull out into space and hit your guy square?
It's very hard.
It's not easy.
No.
You're 300 pounds flying down the line and having to make a sudden turn to catch a cornerback or something who is way smaller, more agile than you. Squares him up.
Yeah. But that's just good technique because he keeps his head to the inside and he says, I'm just going to throw my shoulder out there. And this is exactly how you're taught. If you're pulling right, lead with your right shoulder. Pulling left, lead with your left shoulder. That's exactly what he does there. Pulls right, leads with his right shoulder. Perfect.
Now, how do you feel about this combo from him?
I can already tell you it's not great because I can see color. I see what he's trying to do. I do. And I truly don't necessarily hate it too much. But at the end of the day, the penetrator is always key. You need to get tighter to Braxton. Try to create a little bit of movement, especially with this defensive line. I feel like they could have created a lot more movement at the point of attack than they did at times. If they get a little tighter, I still think one of them gets off on the backer with no problem. I think Bill Murray just gets a little excited because he sees a guy that's smaller than him and he goes, ooh, I can go tee off on him and give him an ear hole.
Well, he finishes him too.
Well, he goes nowhere. But that's good. That's good zone blocking, though. More of that, please. That is pretty. Yeah. That is almost textbook. I mean, you're literally taught run with your head on the outside of the guy. Always keep him to your inside. On outside.
I love the fact. I feel like in the NFL so much, I don't see guys adjust their hat.
No,
it's just wherever they land is where they stay.
Yeah,
like right there, he lands wrong side, but he's able to bench press him off, get over, and swing the hips. Like,
that's textbook. That's pretty. Fake ball coach would put that on his highlight reel for personal enjoyment.
Okay, so how are his hands here?
They're better. I don't like that they're to the outside. And again, I think that's a Craig Morgan thing, like you said.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. I don't like at all.
They want to control the outside shoulder. Like that seems
I get it, but that's how you get called
for them.
Yeah, but that's how you get called for holding. Like that's literally how you get called for holding is attacking the outside of the shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, still a good rep though. If we're being brutally honest, I mean, he gets in front of his guy, he mirrors him correctly, he shadows him well. That's just
Another one. I mean, he didn't do a whole lot here, but he did a lot. He did clear room out at the
clear
goal
space.
line. Like, look at this guy. Number 8's like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, JC Horn's like, no, I don't want to touch you.
Yeah, I'm
You're
not
sweaty and
getting
gross.
hit for this.
Yeah, no, that's pretty. That's just a pretty play in general. I love good old power on the 1 yard line. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, that we actually got through all of it because we kind of flew through the last set there. So, a few questions in here. Another one from J2K. Given the bye week with Borman Bates coming back, will there be a change? I think Bates is going at center when he's ready. So, like, if that's after the bye, perfect. But I think that change is coming. Even though I didn't really like what I saw from Bates week 1, but
the only thing that scares me with changing, especially at the center position, because there's so much communication with the center position, it's really hard to do, even with the bye week. Like it's a lot of communication, and I know we critique Shelton a lot. It's hard, but I don't love the idea of changing the center. But that's just me personally.
Yeah, and then Darren's son was must be a big Doug Kramer fan. That's all I'm saying.
Good old pulling
his
guard.
son was a pulling guard for 2 state champion high school teams that ran the ball 85% of the time. That's Doug Kramer's alley right there.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you right now, I can almost envision the offense they probably ran. It was probably the old classic Georgia Tech, double wishbone, double wingback look. Yeah, you got guys pulling on just about every play. Pulling guard's fun in those offenses. I did that for my sophomore season of high school, and I will tell you what, some of my best highlights come from those pulling guards when you got a 120-pound soaking wet corner on the end of the line thinking he's going to square you up. No chance. It's fun. It's a good time.
And for you guys who have been watching this with us this whole time, I just want you to stop and pause and think about how fast this is all moving live versus what we were doing.
It's crazy.
It's like I'm watching it now. I'm like, man, this feels like it's on fast forward.
Yeah, it's read and react, man. Offensive line's hard. Like, I think when people understand the fact that offensive line's a hard fucking position, I think they'll have a lot more respect for the position. And I think you'll also have a lot more respect for good offensive lines. That's why teams for so long, the Eagles are so fun to watch. Teams like people remember the Dallas Cowboys when DeMarco Murray and Zeke were there, in the 2010s.
The more you watch, the more you find the little mental the crazy mind games that are going on in the trenches. Like I went back and watched after the Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl. I was just watching their all 22 for fun, just to be like, let's see what they got. I haven't watched a lot of good football this year on coach's tape. And I end up going down this 8-hour rabbit hole of were Hassan Reddick and Andrew Wiley really having a slap fight during the Super Bowl?
They might have.
They were going back and forth, seeing who could slap each other more. And Andrew Wiley was just beating the crap out of Hassan Reddick at just slapping his helmet. And Hassan Reddick just keeps trying, and Andrew Wiley just keeps getting him. There's even a point where I got on the tape, Andrew Wiley, Hassan Reddick misses with a slap, and then Andrew Wiley goes, it's just hysterical.
It's fun, man. I'll tell you what, that's the cool thing about offensive line, especially when you're locked on a pass protection. You will just be one-on-one with a certain guy for half of the game. It happens. It really does. So you start having that back and forth, and they'll bullshit between plays, and there's a lot that happens. That's why I said to be a fly on the wall. I want to be a little microphone bug on a referee's jersey over the course of a full game. That's what I want to be. And and this is a little PSA from Ron Luce. The all levels of football need better referees. If you think you could be a good referee, give it a shot. It's good side money, and you get to be involved in the play. Guess what? If you're a referee, you are more or less sniffing what Darnell Wright had for lunch right in this play that you see in front of us. Go give it a shot. Yeah. You get to be involved. You get to be a part of those crazy little stories. And it's really cool to see, man. I won't lie. I have considered officiating to be on the field and a part of the atmosphere because it's a lot of fun, man. And you hear a lot of the good banter and back and forth that happens that we don't get the privilege of seeing on TV or even being at a game. You don't get that type of stuff until you really break it down like we did here, and you can kind of fully see what's actually happening in the course of the game in the trenches. Because again, it's a forgotten part of football, but it might be one of the most entertaining parts of football when you really break it down as well.
Yeah, so that's all we got for you guys tonight. We strive to give you guys good content. We can't live up to the Robert Schmitz level of 5-hour streams, or I can't at least, but we're trying to get you guys good O-line content
Someday.
because the world needs more of it. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please make sure to throw us a like. It means a lot to our channel, to the algorithm. Give us a subscribe if you really liked it. And Ron, let's get out of here the one way we know how.
Bear down, baby.
Bear down.